study by Barna shows that approximately 50% of Americans accept Jesus Christ when they are just 13 years old or younger. And that's part of the reason I really wanted to work with a church and with a youth group, because this is such an incredibly just imperative time for children to develop their faith. So I work with Radiate Youth through Ignite Church in Winterville, North Carolina. And this is a church that I went to occasionally, but I felt like I could really get my feet in and wet and just really get involved through this internship. So a little bit about my background as a Christian. I grew up in a family where we believed in God, but it wasn't we go to church all the time. We lived this out. And so when I started taking horseback riding lessons, I met my best friend when I was about 13 or 14. We're still best friends now. She started inviting me to her youth group. And so I hung out with our friends at youth, and I got to be around her parents, and seeing the way that these people lived was something that I really wanted to do. They just talked about Jesus all the time. They loved him. They lived like it, and they were truly happier because of it. And it was just something I really wanted to live out as well. So when I came to college, I had grown quite a bit in high school in my faith, but because I was kind of on my own, being able to make my own friends and the people I hang out with and what environment I surround myself with or in, I was able to really change a lot of things up for myself. And college ministry was one of them. So I started out with Fuse College Ministry. It's the largest college ministry on ECU's campus. And that's how I found out about Ignite Church, because Fuse is one of the many ministries through Ignite. So I also am now involved with Cray College Ministry, but Fuse has definitely been my favorite and impacted me the most. So I chose a spiritual internship over one that would involve nursing or some sort of healthcare, which is what I originally thought of, because I wanted something that was really going to impact me more intrinsically in my soul and my spirit. And for me, my relationship with God is so much more important than my grades and what my career holds. This is just something that I think is so much bigger than everything else. And this is where I really wanted to devote my time. And it would benefit me, but it's also going to benefit the youth that I'm working with. So to begin with, I met with Pastor Jason. I scheduled an appointment with him. And I didn't realize he pretty much spends most of his days doing counseling appointments. So I think that's what he thought I was coming in to do. But I wanted to talk to him about the internship. So when I walked in, he was super just welcoming and acted like I was an old friend. And I ended up talking to him about the internship. And I stayed way longer after that and talked about other things too, because I felt so comfortable just talking to him. But he introduced me to Pastor Devin. I had originally wanted to work with Fuse, but I realized there was really a need in youth ministry, and it was something I had never experienced before, and I was really uncomfortable about the idea of it. So I felt like this would be a great way to grow and get out of my comfort zone. So Pastor Devin immediately took me under his wing, and I started working with him. And this is Pastor Jason right here, who is the head pastor who I met with. I'm doing a baptism. And there's Devin. And we recently just celebrated 10 years at Ignite Church. Okay, so leaving the comfort zone. So I was not used to a youth group environment. I had went a little bit with my friend when I was younger, but it was very, very small, mostly homeschool students, and it really wasn't this big youth program like Radiate has that's over 100 students. So I was kind of like, I don't have this much experience with it. How am I supposed to be a mentor? How am I supposed to be the person who is going to teach these kids when I still have so much more to learn myself? And I have very strong faith, but as far as education with biblical history is something I was and still am lacking in. So I was not quite as confident at sharing the gospel, and I was also very concerned about being around other Christians who know so much more and me just being embarrassed. And so what was nice about this opportunity was, yeah, I might be lacking in some areas, but I was able to become a leader in the church instead of just someone who occasionally shows up on a Sunday. So here are a few pictures. Here is some of the guys going on one of their retreats. And here is Daylin, Devin's wife. I found out, I had no idea, but she's actually just about my age, and seeing how much faith and how just strong she is in her spirit is just incredible, and she's a huge role model for me. Here's some of our other youth group leaders. This is Jake, who is the assistant youth pastor, and I was able to work with him a whole lot along with Devin. And then here's our band. So youth ministry versus college ministry. So with youth, probably the biggest thing that I learned from it is a lot of times their parents make them go. And I don't want to say that's a bad thing, but they're not as true in their faith because it's not something they're choosing for themselves. Versus college ministry, where these students are choosing to go, which is what makes it even more incredible. So also, a lot of times there were a few girls that I would pick up when going to youth, and they seemed to go more because it was fun and we might be having a party that day, and it's really more of a social event. So we want to bring people in who aren't Christians yet through it being a fun sort of social thing, but we really want them to focus, especially once they get comfortable, on the true meaning of it, and that's to listen to the sermon and really take everything to heart. So how it worked is I would arrive there at 4 o'clock, and for about 30 minutes we would review a book called Leading Small. And that book went through just a lot of different things that are important when working with kids, whether it's privacy, what you should share, what you shouldn't share when a student trusts you when they say something, connecting with the parents and how to get the parents involved because we are working with their kids, minors. And then from 4:30 to 5 we would have a leader meeting and we would talk about what could we do better, how many students showed up last week. We even had a baby shower for one of the girls who just had her baby. So it's a really cool time to connect with the other leaders. 5 to 6 we would set up Transform the Church. We would take down all sorts of stuff that was just for the church, and we would bring out pool tables and ping pong tables and all sorts of video games. And it was a time where the kids could really hang out before we went into the worship area. So from 6 to 6:30 from 6:30 to 7:30 we would play a game. 7:30 to 8 we would have small groups, which was following a sermon. So I have a few videos. So this was on Valentine's Day, and we were doing a finish the lyrics sort of thing, and here is Pastor Devin proving that he can sing very well. Just can't deny, but I gotta let it go. We found love in this place. There we go. I was not able to get the video to work while filming. However, I will insert it now. This is just some of the kids playing ping pong, except not on the ping pong table, across the entire room. So enjoy. So personal strengths and weaknesses. So for me, my strengths were talking. I talk a lot. I feel like I can easily go and connect with people, and especially with the leaders. So that was pretty nice, and talking with students too, but one of the weaknesses was striking up the conversation. Once it started, I could really get into it, but actually going up to the kids, because I didn't really have the chance to get to know them that well, especially with the coronavirus. So going up and just being like, hey, how are you? And being this adult that they do not know was definitely a challenge. And so trying to overcome that, but also I found that in small groups, I was really good at answering questions and helping guiding students and taking my own personal experience so far and applying it to their situations. And here is the church building. It is off of Bayswater Road in Winterville. It's only about 11 minutes from campus. So because of the coronavirus, COVID-19, I did have to end my internship early, since it was an internship where we have to be present. We are still connecting. I actually engaged in one of the Facebook Live videos last night where we were doing worship between leaders. And I have reached out, asked if I can do anything online, but pretty much everything is physical and you have to be there to do it. But if they need me, they know they can reach out. They know they can reach out. So one of the big things at Ignite Church that we like to say is we are raising an army of believers, people going out and just fighting for Christ, showing Christ, and just bringing more people into the church. So I found that I was able to be a mentor much better than what I expected. I was really worried about that, but I found that I was able to talk to kids and just really get in, and it was almost natural being able to help them. And a lot of the kids had different backgrounds, so it would make them more or less easy to connect with, but that just made it so much more interesting finding out that there are so many different ways to reach the children, whether it's something that they're interested in or maybe some issue they're having with their family. And instead of having this just objective view of, oh, I need to bring these people to Christ, knowing how to do that. And I feel like I'm much more prepared for that due to this internship. So here is Radiate's link to their website, and here is the link to their Facebook. Thank you.